Namaskar and welcome to StudyIQ. I am your friend Rahul Saigaonker. The agenda for today's discussion is connected to sustainability. We are going to discuss about clean fuels and our focus would be on green hydrogen. Now you have a query in your mind. Sir, why are we discussing about green hydrogen now? Because recently the central government has come up with new green hydrogen production standards. In this video lecture, we are going to understand those standards for sure. But even before that, we are going to focus on what is the meaning of green hydrogen, what are its benefits, and why the central government is promoting green hydrogen production. We'll discuss about different initiatives that the government has taken in recent few years, because this initiative or this step is in line with those developments. At the end of the discussion, we are also going to focus on finding out what are the loopholes. We'll talk about what can we expect in future, what other standards can be expected by the government in future, and what are in general some of the issues with green hydrogen sector in India. That is going to be the complete agenda of our discussion today. In fact, let's begin our discussion with a question. The question is, what is the meaning of green hydrogen? Examine how green hydrogen can make India secure in a sustainable way. A very simple question. Now, to attempt this question, you'll get very good fodder, very good content in this particular video. To get to know that, stay with me till the very end. All right, let's begin. But before that, for all the UPSC civil services aspirants, StudyIQ is bringing prelims to interview initiative. The August batch, it is starting from 23rd August 2023. It's a 6 p.m. batch. I hope that you have enrolled for these batches by taking the advantage of Independence Day sale, but that is already over. You know that. And this is one of the last batches for 2024. So decide now. It's now or never. And this is the most comprehensive program available in the market, where we will be with you for prelims, mains, and interview. Just visit our website www.studyiq.com. You get all the information. Enroll now. I'll see you in the class. All right. Let's begin. Let's start our discussion by understanding about fuels itself. Now, we use fuels extensively in our life, in our day-to-day life. I put petrol in my bike. I put diesel in my car, right? So most of the fuels that we use today are fossil fuels. Of course, we are moving slowly and steadily towards renewable energy like solar energy, wind energy, etc. But majority of our energy needs, even till today, are fulfilled by fossil fuels. Now, what are these fossil fuels? My chemistry 101 knowledge tells me fossil fuels are basically hydrocarbons. Like, let's take example of, say, simplest one, methane. Right? Methane can be used as a fuel. It's a fossil fuel itself. When I burn methane for my energy requirements, say I want gas for cooking, say methane is available, I burn it. That means it undergoes combustion. When it undergoes combustion, the byproduct would be carbon dioxide plus water. And carbon dioxide, you do know it is a greenhouse gas. And these greenhouse gases, their number or their quantity is continuously increasing in our environment, which is leading to global warming, which is leading to problems of climate change. That is why we are trying to cut down our uses of fossil fuels. Those are non-renewable sources of energy. That's why we are looking towards alternatives. We are talking about solar energy, wind energy, etc. And one such clean fuel would be hydrogen. Hydrogen can also be used as a fuel. Now, we do know that hydrogen in a molecular form, say I can talk about water, it is available abundantly in our atmosphere, in our environment. If somehow I'm able to break this by electrolysis, if I am able to produce hydrogen gas, if I am able to store it, and if I am able to use it as a fuel, that is also going to give me energy, isn't it? And when hydrogen burns, that means when it reacts with oxygen, it is going to give you energy. And the byproduct would be what? Water vapor itself. That means hydrogen is going to be a cleaner fuel. No problem of greenhouse gas emissions. It is going to be a better and an efficient fuel. Its calorific value is quite high. Apart from that, it is very quiet. For instance, whatever research that is going on right now with respect to hydrogen, I can talk about hydrogen-based fuel cells. And hydrogen fuel cells, they are very quiet in operation. And when I use them, say, for transportation, means I can travel for longer distances without any sort of refueling or recharging. There are many benefits, right? The biggest benefit is it is a clean fuel. So if I'm able to produce hydrogen somehow, it can become an alternative to these fossil fuels. That's what I understand. In fact, we use hydrogen as a fuel in many applications recently, or we talk about the news, right? Chandrayaan. There is a lot of news of Chandrayaan 3, and Chandrayaan 3 was sent atop LVM 3, right? That is GSLV Mark 3 itself, and GSLV Mark 3 uses liquid hydrogen as a fuel in its third, that is cryogenic upper stage. We use that as a fuel. So what we are discussing here is using that in our day-to-day application. Now, what hydrogen or how hydrogen is produced, that defines the meaning of green hydrogen. So hydrogen can be extracted directly from the fossil fuels. One, it can also be extracted from some other sources. One is categorized as blue hydrogen, and green hydrogen is one where it is generated basically from the renewable energy sources. Now, if this thing is not clear, let's talk about these three distinctions, very important from exam perspective. Say I can create an MCQ distinction between gray hydrogen, blue hydrogen, and green hydrogen. Gray hydrogen is something where hydrogen gas is produced through the non-renewable sources. Now, when I use non-renewable sources, so that is fossil fuels, we do understand one of the byproducts would be again carbon dioxide, which creates a problem. This is harmful for my environment. This does not help me a lot. Yes, I'm producing hydrogen, but in production of that hydrogen, I'm releasing more and more amount of carbon dioxide. So gray hydrogen would not be very useful for me. The next variant is the blue hydrogen. Please remember, the term blue would be a misnomer if you select hydrogen that is produced or hydrogen produced from say water-based sources. No, please try to understand that. Blue hydrogen, again, it is produced mostly from non-renewable energy sources like say nuclear energy, etc. But they follow a procedure of carbon capture and sequestration. That is why their impact on the greenhouse gases would be moderate to very low. I would say this can be accepted to a large sense. For instance, say one of the simplest methods of producing hydrogen would be electrolysis of water. Now, for electrolysis of water, I need input energy. If that input energy is used from nuclear sources, I would say that is blue hydrogen. The best kind of hydrogen that I can produce is green hydrogen. Again, it's a misnomer if a statement comes green hydrogen is something that is produced from green sources. Not necessary. You need to understand green hydrogen is basically produced or generated from by using input energy where that input energy is renewable. That means the emissions because of the energy that is used, it is completely zero. That's why it is a clean fuel. Now, let's talk about green hydrogen. As I told you, how do we produce hydrogen? I have to electrolyze water. Say input is this water. I have to electrolyze it. When I electrolyze it, I get hydrogen gas. Now, for electrolysis, we have different electrolyzers, and running these electrolyzers, that is going to need, say, electricity. And now, this electricity, where is it produced from? If it is produced from fossil fuels, that would be useless. That's why we talk about using this input energy from renewable sources in the electrolyzer so that I can electrolyze water, I can break hydrogen and collect this hydrogen and store it. That's the basic meaning of green hydrogen. I hope things are clear from exam perspective. Do make a note of differences between gray hydrogen, blue hydrogen, and green hydrogen. Is it clear? Green hydrogen means where hydrogen is produced or hydrogen is generated from the energy which is obtained from renewable sources. Renewable sources means solar energy, wind energy, etc. Clear? Right. Now, the next thing. Sir, why are we talking about this green hydrogen? I told you, hydrogen as a fuel, it has a lot of benefits. In fact, India is aiming to become one of the hubs of green hydrogen production. India is planning to produce about 55 million tons of green hydrogen by 2050. And the prediction by different agencies, prediction by say IRENA, is that by 2050, 15% of energy requirements throughout the world, they are going to come from green hydrogen. That means it is going to be one of the clean sources of energy along with solar, wind, etc. So every country, or I would say at least most of the developed countries, they are working towards green hydrogen. India is also pushing its green hydrogen production. And for that, we have taken many steps. We have brought green hydrogen policy in recent times. Last year itself, India brought the green hydrogen policy where a lot of benefits are being provided for green hydrogen producers. those companies or those startups which are involved in green hydrogen production, they will get a waiver of the interstate transmission charges for 25 years. Government of India is going to create different hubs, manufacturing zones. Apart from that, there are renewable energy requirements or renewable energy purchase obligations by different companies, and if somebody is using energy for green hydrogen production, that would fulfill the obligation of renewable purchase compliance. So these are the policies that we have brought already. Apart from that, very recently we have also announced green hydrogen mission. Last year, Independence Day itself, the government has announced that we are going to promote more and more production of green hydrogen, and our target by 2030, that means the next 6 to 7 years, India is going to reach a production of 5 million tons of green hydrogen. So we are promoting more and more private sector players to be involved in electrolysis, production of electrolyzers, production of hydrogen, green hydrogen itself. There are some sub schemes also running. Government has started a scheme called as SITE, Strategic Interventions for Green Hydrogen Transition Program, where the government will finance some sort of viability gap funding would be provided for domestic manufacturing of electrolyzers. And government is also focusing on creating green hydrogen hubs, green hydrogen manufacturing zones. The central government is going to look at different states or regions where they will be supporting some areas for producing green hydrogen in large quantities. And in these long line of steps, now the government has announced green hydrogen standards. Now, what is the meaning of green hydrogen standard? Now, I told you, say, for instance, to understand green hydrogen standard, imagine that I have a company, I have a startup, and I am into the business of production of green hydrogen. That means, say, whatever means, imagine that I have electrolysis setup where I electrolyze water and I produce hydrogen. Now, for this, I do need input energy. You do understand, I need input energy, correct? I electrolyze, I take hydrogen. Now I have to compress hydrogen gas, then I have to store hydrogen gas. Is it clear? So I have to do, or I have to perform these steps, and at every step I do need energy, correct? Now, to define what amounts to green hydrogen in India, some standards have been brought. Throughout this process, what was going to be the definition of green hydrogen? Now, green hydrogen means hydrogen that is produced where the emission from well to gate, that means from the starting itself, including water treatment, electrolysis, gas purification, drying, compression, etc., whatever I do, if I am producing 1 kg of hydrogen gas in the entire process or the supply line, the amount of carbon dioxide produced or released should not be more than 2 kg CO2 equivalent. That's the basic idea, and that is the definition of green hydrogen in India from now on. So what happens? I told you, hypothetically, I told you I have a startup which produces green hydrogen. Now what is going to happen? I have to register myself with Bureau of Energy Efficiency. What will they do? They will give me some sort of accreditation where they will be, or inspectors would be coming to my plant, where they will be monitoring, inspecting and checking, yes, okay, this guy or this guy's company is producing green hydrogen, where I will get different benefits and incentives from the company according to the policy and different mission objectives. So monitoring, verification, certification would be provided by BEE, Bureau of Energy Efficiency. It is the body under Ministry of Power. The scope of this definition, it is going to apply both to the electrolysis based plants, also any other biomass based hydrogen producing plants as well. Please remember this, very important from MCQ perspective. Is it clear? These standards have been defined now. These were much awaited. Now, what is the significance of this? You are thinking, sir, what is the significance of this? First of all, it is going to give me clarity. Now, imagine I told you my startup, right now it was producing 1 kg hydrogen gas, where the equivalent amount of greenhouse gases that were emitted in 1 kg production were, say, 4 kg of CO2. Now, I would try to improve my process. I would try to better my process to reduce that CO2 emission to below 2 kg CO2 equivalent. I'll get certification and I'll get benefits from the government for that. So this gives a great amount of clarity to the green hydrogen community itself, that this is going to be the definition now. And India is now one among few countries which has green hydrogen standards. Some developed countries have developed these standards, but again, when we dissect this a little, we look at some of the steps that have been taken by India. We do understand we are promoting green hydrogen production, yes, but there are a lot of things which are lacking in our country. We think that these standards again are in line with the development, but if you look at experts, their analysis, they will tell you that most of the other countries who have standards, and India is now one among them, where we have green hydrogen definition standard, but other countries like Australia, Canada, Germany, Japan, UK, US, they have brought more comprehensive standards throughout the supply chain. Right now, we have brought standards for definition. That means while production, we have some sort of standards. But in India, still, standards are lacking in terms of your storage, in terms of handling, in terms of leak detection, in terms of mobility-based applications. There are no standards because we have to think about that. See, for instance, to explain the loopholes right now, imagine tomorrow I produce huge amount of green hydrogen. What do I do? Can I use them in my vehicles as of now? No. I have to adjust them, or I have to bring equivalent kind of standards for my mobility applications, for refueling stations. If I'm using it for power generation, I need to come up with safety standards for those power generation. Storage and other safety based standards are needed. These are right now lacking in our country. It's a good step. First of all, India has brought a definition in terms of green hydrogen production, but there are many other standards connected to hydrogen pipelines, fuel storage, fuel cell modules, refueling station, other applications. These standards are still lacking in our country. Moreover, green hydrogen itself has to be promoted. Of course, we do know the benefits. It reduces carbon dioxide emission. It is a clean fuel. It basically improves or enables our energy security. It is very, right now, I would say, cost effectiveness. It has been put on both the sides, because if we compare that with current standards of energy, we can say in future it is going to be really cost effective. But right now, the problem is initial cost. See, I told you I am creating, or I'm building a startup for green hydrogen. I would be needing a lot of money, a lot of R&D, a lot of money is needed for financing, and it's a risky proposition, because we need to have that clarity. Right now, the community has gained clarity with respect to definition, but I need more clarity with respect to transportation, storage, the guidelines from the government. What are the safety issues, safety standards? We need to create awareness among people regarding hydrogen as a fuel. I told you, we use it as a rocket fuel in our cryogenic upper stage. When will I start using that as a fuel in, say, my vehicles? Very soon, maybe in India, but we need a path, we need standards, we need guidelines, more and more guidelines, more or a proper kind of regulation from the government. We need to create adequate infrastructure and support for green hydrogen based sector in our country. Yes, we have started slowly and steadily, and in long list of initiatives, a lot more needs to be done in a much more planned and coherent way, because we need to simultaneously develop the entire logistical setup for green hydrogen. Right now I'm producing, but I need to transport as well. I need to use it at some other application, use it at some other place. So we need all the standards, all the safety precautions, guidelines throughout the supply chain connected to green hydrogen. That's something we can expect in future. Whenever there's an update regarding that, we'll discuss that on StudyIQ for sure. I hope that you have gained clarity about what is the meaning of green hydrogen, gray hydrogen, blue hydrogen, and the steps that the government has taken. We can expect such questions both in prelims as well as in mains. So be prepared for these topics. All right. That's the end of today's discussion. If you have liked this video, you can always follow me on my social media handle at Rahul Sai 222. If you have any queries, doubts, suggestions, etc., you can reach out to me on IG. Thank you for watching this again. Jai Hind.